Okay, here we're changing a decimal to a percent. And what you want to do here is move the decimal two spaces to the right, and then you're going to add your percent sign. So here's an example. If we have 0.83, we're going to move our decimal two places to the right, and we'll have 83, and then we add the percent sign to give us 83%. Another example is if we have 0.08, again, we're going to move our decimal two places to the right, and that's going to give us 8, and then we add the percent sign. One more example. If we just have 5, we know that the decimal always comes at the end of a whole number, so we're going to move it two places to the right, and that's going to give us 500, and then we add the percent sign. Now, the opposite of that, changing a percent to a decimal, is move the decimal two spaces to the left. And our next step is to drop the percent sign. Example here. Let's say we have 95%. Again, the decimal comes at behind the whole number. We're going to move it two places to the right, and that's 0.95, and we drop the percent sign. Another example, let's say we had 7.34%. We're going to move our decimal two places to the right, fill in any empty spaces with a 0, and so our answer would be 0.0734. One more example is if we have 400%. Again, the decimal is at the end of the whole number, so we move that over two places to the right, and that just leaves us with 4.00. Next, we're going to change fractions to decimals, in which we talked about this in the last lesson, and this here is where we divide the bottom number into the top number. And so an example of that is if we have 1/2 and we want to change that into a decimal, we're going to say 1 divided by 2. Well, we all know that 2 can't go into 1 evenly, and that a decimal comes behind the whole number, and we have to add our 0. Anytime we divide by a whole number, we just move our decimal straight up. 2 goes into 10 5 times. 5 times 2 is 10. Subtract, we're left with 0. So 1/2 as a decimal is 0.5 or 0.50. Another example of changing a fraction to a decimal. Let's say we have 3/4. Again, that's 3 divided by 4. We add our decimal and a 0. Bring our decimal straight up. 4 goes into 30 7 times. 7 times 4 is 28. We subtract and we're left with 2. Well, we know that there are no remainders when you're dividing by decimals, so we have to add a 0. We bring it down. 4 goes into 20 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20 and leaves us with 0. So 3/4 as a decimal is 0.75. The last thing we want to know how to do is how to change a percent to a fraction. And so here we drop the percent sign. And then we're going to put that number over 100. And the last thing, most important thing, is to always reduce. So an example here is if we have 70%, we're going to first drop the percent sign, so it'll just be 70. We put that over 100, and then that can be reduced by dropping the zeros there, and that leaves us with 7/10. Another example is if we have 2%, again, we drop the percent sign. This leaves us with 2. We place that over 100. And here we have an even number over an even number. So we're going to divide by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 100 divided by 2 is 50. And that is how you change a percent to a fraction.